Ladies and gentlemen, how are you? Good to be back for a Friday night, and we have some true crime to get through. They doing my hair and makeup. Ain't nowhere no makeup. DJ, good to see you. Angela, Sherry, Laura T, Melody, and Gambler, and Kathy Lynch. How are you all? Good to see you, Melody, and Rachel. Rachel made it. It's the scary bunny. I know. I can't wait to order that bunny head from Temu or whatever and get it delivered for Halloween. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'll do a whole show in a bunny head. Okay. So did you have fun with Trish? Did you see that video that she showed you about the Daybell house being torn down? How crazy is that? Crazy. Being torn down. I want to ask you a question actually while we're here. If that was, say you lived in the local area and that property, no house on it, has been torn down, it's just the hell is messaging me? Oh. Say it was torn down, would you buy it? Would you buy the land and build a home on it or something like that? And the reason I ask is because any house that had a terrible crime occur near it or whatever, I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could. You watched it with Kresha? Good. I'm glad you watched with Kresh. Hello all. Hello. Melody says no. What if the family was selling it, like the victim's family was selling it for fundraising, like to make a memorial or something? Would you buy it then? What if it was the family got given the property in a court order as restitution? Would you purchase it from the victim's family, not the perpetrator? I want to see what people say. Still no? Still no? Okay. Interesting. I don't think I would want it either. And about to tell you the reason why. Because I don't think it's the house. The house, while his wife might have been killed there, the kids were buried in the backyard. You can't get rid of that. You can't make that go away. It's always going to be there on that property. Don't matter how many, cubic feet of sand or dirt or soil you get there, you're always going to have it. It's not like they were murdered in a home and then the home got taken away. That maybe you could live with. I mean, because the home's no longer there, but they were put into the backyard and buried. I mean, it's basically a burial location. I don't think so. I don't think I could do it either. Rachel says, I couldn't. I think the right thing is being done here. Yeah, I think so. I think so too. I actually think it might have been the only, really about the only thing they could have done. Angela says, I wouldn't be able to plan and I would be worried about disturbing anything. Well, you heard that video if you were watching Trish before, where it said they found something and then it's hard to hear. I actually did a little bit of the editing of the video, so I was listening on headphones and it was still very hard to hear. About halfway through, it clears up, and then you hear them say something like, "We'll just put them in a box and we'll just bury them somewhere." And I was like, "Ugh." I hope they're talking about. I hope they're talking about like actual pet cemetery and not the children or something. And Sherry says, I always think of the Watts house. You'll never get rid of the people that live in that neighborhood. It'll always be a looky-loo. Could be, could be. Natasha, hey, Natasha, how are you? Angela says, I would have liked an animal sanctuary as they all liked animals. Yeah, except it does have some negative connotations with the pet cemetery idea, even though these animals will be alive. Rachel said, I think those are animal bones. That's what I thought when I read it because they said we'll put them in a box and bury them. And I was like, that sounds like an animal. But hey, who knows? Who knows what's buried out there? All right, let me set this up. So there was a trial for 15-year-old, a 15-year-old accused of murdering her own mother. Her name is Carly, and she has been found guilty. And I'm going to bring that to you. I think we talked about her a while ago. Yeah, look at this. Hey guys, how are you? I'm here. Camera's on. Oh, that's good, Natasha. I'm glad all is well. Annie was told there were chicken bones. Okay, cool. Annie Cushing, yeah. All right, let's look at this. So Carly Gregg has been found guilty. She was found guilty on 3 counts: first-degree murder, attempted murder, and tampering with evidence in relation to the death of her own mother, Ashley. And I find that just brutal. I'm sure we did this when she was arrested, but let's play this little video down here of her. I think it's her hearing her fate.
It did not take long for a Rankin County jury to find Carly Gregg guilty in the trial that you followed all week.
Yeah, the 15-year-old convicted of killing her mother and shooting her stepfather. Those 3 charges included first-degree murder, attempted murder, and tampering with evidence. 3 News Sides for Alicia Gavin speaks with both sides following the verdict and subsequent sentencing.
Count 1, we the jury find the defendant Carly Madison Gregg guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment.
15-year-old Carly Madison Gregg was found guilty on all 3 counts she was charged with: first-degree murder after shooting and killing her mother, Ashley Smiley; attempted murder after shooting her stepfather, Heath Smiley; and tampering with evidence after she took down a security camera in her Brandon home where the crime took place. The jury heard closing arguments from both sides before making its decision. The state walked through evidence and testimony of the case to argue their point that Gregg knew what she was doing was wrong. The defense arguing for the last time that this was a psychotic break for the teenager and she does not remember the crime.
The dog walks behind her. You'll see it. He walks behind her, and she knows let me make sure he doesn't knock the gun off. Cool, calm, and calculated. She knew exactly what she was doing.
When they already have these underlying significant mental health disorders and they get treated with the wrong medication, this is what can happen.
Once the guilty verdict was announced, the jury returned to deliberation to determine Gregg's sentence. The state asked for life in prison without the possibility of parole. The defense asked the jury to allow the judge to make that decision. The jury ruled in favor of the state's request. The state is pleased with the decision for Gregg to spend the rest of her life in prison, despite her being 15.
We feel like life imprisonment really is the only sentence that meets the crime, regardless of her age. If someone had committed this crime that was 40 years old, I don't even think that we'd be asking those questions. And so that's sort of how we look at it.
But this is not the end of the defense's fight for Carly's freedom.
She's doing okay. She's hanging in there. Yeah, she's not. She was very, when it came down, she was upset. We'll definitely be appealing.
In Rankin County, Verlicia Gavin.
So you heard at the end there that her legal team said they are definitely going to be appealing. What do you think about that? Because I find it very interesting that their first thought is just, hey, we'll appeal. To appeal something, they're going to have to find something within that trial where they think there's grounds to actually get in either new trial or, there's something that was missed, either a legal technicality. Very, very hard. Rachel says she was in trouble for vape pens and a phone or something she wasn't supposed to have. Yes, I believe that was, if I remember correctly, that was the case. They're saying here her mother, who was 40, was a teacher at Northwest Rankin High School when she died at the hands of her daughter, who was 14 at the time of the crime. The trial, as Gregg's defense started on Monday, was not a whodunit, as police played a video in court proved who the shooter to be was Carly. They said rather the trial centered around Gregg's mental health when the shooting took place. The state and defense brought many witnesses during the 5-day trial, including Gregg's stepfather, Heath Smiley, who was also shot by Gregg. Heath was shot in the shoulder with a .357 Magnum, which he gifted to his then wife, Ashley. He maintained his support for his daughter throughout the trial. even at one point mouthing "I love you" to her. The strategy of Carly's attorneys was to prove not guilty by reason of insanity. A psychiatrist brought in by the defense concluded that Carly suffers from bipolar disorder. The state, however, claimed that Carly did not meet the, is it the M. Norton rule? I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. Meaning that she did not meet the requirements to be deemed criminally insane. I had a very nice person about a year ago walk me through how the insanity plea works and what you need to either be successful or not successful with it. And I had been building a video around it, and then I scrapped it at the last second because I didn't like how I produced it. I didn't like the script for it. There was a bunch of things, and I felt terrible about it because the person who contacted me, and I can't tell you who it is, they were someone who intimately knew about the insanity plea very, very intimately. And I can't tell you more than that. They asked me not to. But I can tell you that they walked me through what they knew about it. And it gave me a greater insight into like how hard it is to meet these type of definitions and stuff like that. And sorry, I almost misspoke there. That person was telling me that to meet this rule is quite difficult. And if I remember correctly, let's see if I have my notes on it anywhere. Because they told me how you get it. Or what you have to meet. Okay, so it's basically like a disease of the mind. They're saying here, whether a particular condition amounts to a disease of the mind within the rules is not a medical, but a legal question to be decided in accordance with the ordinary rules of interpretation. It seems that any disease which produces a malfunctioning of the mind is a disease of the mind and need not be a disease of the brain itself. The term being held to cover numerous conditions, and they quote a bunch of different court cases here. The courts have clearly drawn a distinction between internal and external factors affecting a defendant's mental condition. This is partly based on the risk of recurrence, whereby the High Court of Australia, hey Australia, has expressed the defense of automatism is unable to be considered when the mental disorder has been proved transient and as such not likely to reoccur. However, the distinction between insanity and automatism is difficult because the distinction between internal and external is a divide, is difficult. Okay. Maybe we should do that video because I'm a bit rusty on it too now. I still have that video put away, and maybe I should put it up because I'm a little rusty on it too. And I'd like to know why she didn't meet that rule. They're saying here the state's expert witness, Dr. Jason Pickett, a psychiatrist, claimed that Carly was not insane when she shot her mother and was aware of the harm her actions would cause. Actually, they sort of point that out in that video. They show you that at one point the dog walks behind her, almost knocks a gun off a stool.
To make that
And they saying
turned to
that
deliberation
her
to the-
awareness about the weapon being dangerous is enough to prove that, you know, she was aware of her actions. There it is. Here's that little clip here. There. So they're saying there's a gun on this stool behind her, and they're saying the fact when the dog walks behind her and then she goes to grab the gun to secure it shows you that she had presence of mind that the gun was, I guess, likely to cause injury should it have gone off on its own. Marlene Clausen says, first of all, you do not take cameras down after killing. I think that's part of it too, right? You have to be able to show that the person at the time had no idea what they were doing, but they didn't understand what they were doing would lead to, they wouldn't like see it as wrong. And that probably that mental condition contributed. I don't know. Any medication. Well, they did say in the trial in that video that this is what happens when people are mismedicated. So I'm guessing maybe. Sorry, this one was sent in to me. Someone emailed it to me, and I haven't been following it. I just wanted to bring it to you because I've not heard of a 15-year-old girl to spend the rest of her life in prison. Normally, they cap these at like, I don't know, she'd get out when she was like 30 something or 28. They often keep them in there for like over a decade, 15 years, something like that. But it sounds like she may actually go away for the rest of her life. Yeah, she didn't shoot the dogs. No, she only shot her mum, the mum's new partner, and then her father too. He got shot, but he survived. They're saying that she had bipolar disorder. Yeah, I'm not playing that, but I have seen that video. You know, if you guys really want to do that video on the insanity plea, I need a refresher too. Um, let me reach out to my contact. I'll see if they're still willing to talk to me about it. I think they're a little angry because I didn't do it as quickly as I I didn't promise them anything. I just said I would make a video at some point on it. I didn't give them a time frame, but I will reach back out to them and see if they're willing to talk again and try and refine some of the details for it because that person was very, very knowledgeable. Ethan Crumbley was a school shooter, right? His parents, um, their local state made their parents responsible for his actions, basically, right? Stepdad. A chemical deficiency. Hold on, let's go back up here. I think there's different sets of rules. So there's different, depending on where you are in the world. If I remember correctly speaking to this person, depending on where you are in the world, depending on which court you are in, they can each follow different different definitions of what is an act of insanity. Some of them use the M. Norton rules, or however you pronounce that. Some of them use some other definitions. Some of them use some other medical definitions. I think a lot of them do use this particular one, but not all of them. And I remember when I was speaking to this particular person, they were trying to drum that into my head that not everywhere uses the same benchmark to succeed. And here, it says here, there are various justifications for the exemption of the insane from criminal responsibility when mental incapacity is successfully raised as a defense in a criminal trial. It absolves a defendant from liability. It applies public policies in relation to criminal responsibility by applying a rationale of compassion, accepting that it is morally wrong to punish a person if that person is deprived permanently or temporarily of the capacity to form a necessary mental intent that the definition of a crime requires. Punishment of the obviously mental ill by the state may undermine public confidence in the penal system. A utilitarian and humanitarian approach suggests that the interests of society are better served by treatment. And that's part of that. Yeah, presumption of sanity and burden of proof. Sanity is a rebuttable presumption, and the burden of proof is on the party denying it. The standards of proof is on the balance of probabilities. That is to say that mental incapacity is more likely than not. If this burden is successfully discharged, the party relying upon it is entitled to succeed. And they said in Lord Denning's judgment in Brady versus Attorney General for Northern Ireland, 1963. Whenever the defendant makes an issue of his state of mind, the prosecution can adduce evidence of insanity. However, this will normally only arise to negate the defense case when automatism and diminished responsibility is an issue. In practical terms, the defense will be more likely to raise the issue of mental incapacity to negate or minimize criminal liability. A defendant charged with a shoplifting claim, they got to use their English better. I've been charged with a shoplifting. claimed she had no thing because she had absent-mindedly walked out of the shop without paying because she suffered from depression. So she's saying she had no culpability. When the prosecution attempted to adduce evidence that this constituted insanity within the rules, she changed her plea to guilty, but on appeal, the court ruled that she had been merely denying mens rea rather than raising a defense under the rules, and her conviction was quashed. The general rule was stated that the rules apply only to cases in which the defect of reason is substantial. Interesting. And then this is disease of the mind, and that's in one of the judgments. And what is it? It's R versus Hennessy, 1989. A diabetic stole a car and drove it while suffering from a mild attack of hyperglycemia caused by stress and a failure to take insulin. And in their judgment, they said stress, anxiety, and depression can no doubt be the result of the operation of external factors, but they are not, it seems to us, in themselves separately or together external factors of the kind capable in law of causing or contributing to a state of automatism. They constitute a state of mind which is prone to reoccur. They lack the feature of novelty or accident, which is the basis of the distinction drawn by Lord Diplock in R. v. Sullivan, 1984. It is contrary to the observations of Devlin J., to which we have referred to in Hill v. Baxter, 1958. It does not, in our judgment, come within the scope of the exception of some external physical factors, such as a blow on the head or the administration of an anesthetic. There you go. An example. Let's see. Here. The interpretation of the knowledge that the act was wrong. So part of it is the knowledge of the act was wrong. The interpretation of this clause is subject of controversy among legal authorities, and different standards may apply in different jurisdictions. Wrong was interpreted to mean legally wrong rather than morally wrong in some cases. Under this interpretation, there may be cases where the mentally ill know their conduct is legally prohibited, but it is arguable that their mental condition prevents them from making the connection between an act being legally prohibited and the societal requirement to conform their conduct to the requirements of criminal law. An example, I'm not going to read the example. Let's see. Functions of the injury. So there's a whole bunch of different things here. Functions of the injury. So in the UK, it says, provides that a jury shall not return a special verdict that the accused is not guilty by reason of insanity, except on the written or oral evidence of 2 or more registered medical practitioners, of whom at least one has special experience in the field of mental disorder. This may require the jury to decide between conflicting medical evidence, which they are not necessarily equipped to do, but the law goes further and allows them to disagree with the experts if there are facts or surrounding circumstances which, in the opinion of the court, justifies the jury in coming to that conclusion. Interesting. So they can actually overrule the medical evidence if they think there are facts there that support the, support the claim. Interesting. Criticisms. They said they have been 4 major criticisms of the law as it currently stands. They say it's medical irrelevance, and the legal definition of insanity has not advanced significantly since 1843. In ineffectiveness, sentencing for murder. Here. A finding of insanity may well result in indefinite confinement in a hospital, whereas a conviction for murder may well result in a determinate sentence between 10 and 15 years. Faced with this choice, it may be that defendants would prefer the certainty of the latter option. The defense of diminished responsibility in Section 2(1) of the Homicide Act would reduce the conviction to voluntary manslaughter with more discretion on part of the judge in regards to sentencing. That's an interesting point, that say you succeed with your insanity plea, they may just lock you up in a hospital for your entire sentence. So say you get sentenced to 40 years in jail, they might just keep you there for 40 years or an indeterminate amount of time until they think you're better. They may just keep you there. Sort of, you know, the two girls who said they were influenced by the creepypasta online and they stabbed their friend in the park. Well, one of them was kept longer than the other, and they said that one was okay to go back out in the public, but the other one wasn't at the time. So, you know, that's maybe part of what they're explaining. And alternate rules. They say the insanity defense article has a number of alternate tests that have been used at different times and places. One example is the ALI test or ALI test, and they replaced the M. Norton rule in many parts in the United States for many years until the 1980s, when, in the aftermath of John Hinckley shooting U.S. President Donald Reagan, many ALI states or ALI states returned to the original variation of the M. Norton rules. So, interesting. He's out now, and he shot a president. Interesting. They lock you up with others, yes. Hey, Cheetah No More. Haven't seen you in a while. Hope you're doing good. Sean says bipolar Ted Bundy versus Vincent Van Gogh. Okay, that's definitely the definition. Where did she get the gun? Let me have a look. Give me 1 second. So, maybe we should do that video because I think we all need a recap on this. And the script that she helped, the person helped me write, was extremely well done and came from personal experience. So I would like maybe we should do that again. I sort of threw it away. Well, I didn't throw it away. I just didn't upload it because I really hated the way I did it, and I'm my own hardest critic. And I watched it a few times, and the more times I watched it, the more I hated it. And I was like, nope, I don't want to upload this. I think everyone's going to hate it. And I just put it in the vault and left it there. But maybe we can remake it and do it better. Okay, let me have a look. Carly Gregg. Let me see if we can find out where that firearm. I'm sure. Oh no, wait. Didn't they say in the article? Didn't I already read this? Sorry. Well, you got me off for a second. Hold on. Didn't they say that the firearm came from the her father, biological father, who had bought it for his then wife at the time? That was that 357 Magnum. Is that the only firearm she used? The 357 Magnum? All right, hold on. Trying to see if he has any other firearm except for the Magnum. I don't see anything under that listing or that specific phrase, but at least one of that's where one of the fire. If she had more, I don't know, but the firearm that they list here came from her father, gifted it to the mother at the time when they were together. It says here, Heath was shot in the shoulder by the 357 Magnum, which he gifted to his then wife, Ashley Smiley. So there you go. It's stepfather. Sorry. Stepfather, Heath Smiley, was also shot by his stepdaughter. How brutal. So he had gifted it to the mom, and that was a 357 Magnum. We all know what that is. We've all seen the Dirty Harry movie, or Dirty Harry, like the old meme for that. We know what a 357 Magnum. Can we even show firearms on YouTube? I think we have in the past. I don't know if we're allowed to. Can we do that? Are we allowed to show a firearm? Hold on. I'm going to check this because I'm not sure if we can. Oh, okay. So if I show you the gun, we will get age gated instantly. All right. Well, we all know what a 357 Magnum looks like. Yeah, the gun was her mom's, right? It was gifted to her from Heath. Mom was worried about the crazy ex-husband. A 44 Magnum, a 44. There are many videos showing the shootings of firearms. Are they age gated though? Do you have to say you're over 18 or have an account that says you're over 18? That's the difference. Because when you get age gated on YouTube, it takes your video out of the algorithm like instantly. You just lose everything. It's not worth it unless you have like a devoted following who already know about like your content or whatever and you don't care. All right, I want to move on from this because it's not a case I know a ton about. I just wanted to show you that she was found guilty and they are looking to appeal. On what ground? I have no idea. I will add this though. The state's expert witness, Dr. Jason Pickett, a psychiatrist, claimed that Carly was not insane when she shot her mother and was aware of the harm her actions would cause. Additionally, he stated that Carly had narcissistic tendencies, calling her actions diabolical. I always find it very interesting in court cases where they're able to find one doctor who will give one opinion and it sides with the prosecution. And then they're able to find another doctor who is able to make a diagnosis that matches what the defense wants. And I find that bizarre. Is there just doctors out there that are for hire? So you can hire them and be like, hey, we're going to court. I have a defendant who needs a, I don't know, bipolar or a personality disorder, doctor to say that that's what they have. How much do you cost per hour? Because like it's bizarre to me that you can always find so many of these doctors who seem to have two different opinions. You don't know of any age dating? Is that what you do, DJ? Is that what you do when you go to these dances? Are you age dating? Is that what you're up to? Rachel says, I hope she gets the mental health that she needs. I think it's incredibly sad that someone who is 15 could possibly spend the rest of their natural born life in prison. I do feel that's pretty crap. On the off chance that she does have a mental disorder that led to some of her offending, not all of it. I'm not saying she's not culpable of her actions. I'm just saying maybe, she could be helped in her period in time in jail. And I know what she did was heinous, but I've seen people with worse crimes be released after like 10 to 15 years. Look at the kid in England. What's that kid in England? The little kid who was at a shopping center, and then the two little kids, they were little boys at the time, walked him away from his mom and killed him on the railway tracks. What was that? My memory, I'm half asleep, guys. I slept in far too long today. Hold on. Gila will know. I bet you Gila will know. It's James Bulger. James Bulger. They're already out. I think both of them are out of jail, right? One of them has gone off to live a fairly decent life. The other one has been in and out of jail like 50 times. So one of the things in the UK, if you don't know about James's case, one of the weird things about this particular one, when these two offenders who were young boys at the time, they abducted a little boy and they killed him. By the way, watch the interview tapes with both of them if you ever want to see something really disturbing. The fact that they try to blame each other, then they try to do all sorts of things to get out of it. And when they finally realize they're cornered, they just break down. But the weird thing about it is they were both given different names and different identities on release from prison. Due to the notoriety of the case, they were both given identity. One has kept the same identity for a long time. The other one has had several different names names and identities and documents given to him because he keeps telling people he was the kid in the James Bulger case. keeps letting it out that he's whatever his original name was. Keeps telling people. And he keeps getting arrested. He's been arrested for child photos, if you know what I mean, child content, and he's just been in and out of freaking jail like about 1,000,000 times. I don't know if he's out right now, but he was arrested about 50 times in the last 10 years. People find out his name and post it online. He's also told people. He's also given out his identity a few times. I know people track him and try and set him up and stuff, but I'm pretty sure I read that he's also told people who he is. Mental heavyweight there, yeah. All right, hold on. James Bulger. Let's see if he's still out. I want to know if he's still out of jail. Because I know he got arrested about a year or two ago again. He was arrested about 8 years ago when they raided his property and found child content on his devices. And then his name got out. Let me see. James Bulger. One of the saddest. I can't believe 2 little kids would do that to a little boy. It's so disturbing what they did to that kid. So the 2 children, their original names were Robert Thompson, Robert Thompson, and John Venables. John is the one that keeps messing around. I'm pretty sure he's the one that keeps getting arrested. It is him. The other one, Thompson, he's not really been heard from since he got out and given a new identity. He's sort of gone off and lived his life, and which is very interesting because during the original trial for James, there was some suggestion that one of them was the ringleader and did more of the terrible things to James. But John kept trying to say it was all Robert. It was all Robert. He did everything. And it's interesting that when you see which one was able to grow up and sort of live their life, and the other one keeps getting into trouble. Yeah, John Venables. Let's see if he's out of jail right now. I know he was back in jail, but I never heard if he got released again. Oh, no. He's still in there. He lost his bid for freedom, lost his parole bid. Not surprising. He's been given so many chances for real. Here. Let's play this thing from Sky News. This is the mum of James talking here.
Well, firstly, thank you so much for talking to me. It's a real privilege to sort of meet you. So, thank you so much. I just want, and Kim as well. Kim's the sort of head of the James Bulger Foundation, friend Denise as well. And I know that you're here for sort of support as well. So, yeah. So talk me through yesterday. You must have been so nervous in the morning.
It wasn't just yesterday, it's been the past few weeks really, because I didn't know what way it was going to go. We didn't even know what day we were going to be told. So when I got the news that his parole had been, taken away from him, I was just like stuck in a moment sort of thing, thinking, have I just heard properly? So I was like, so he's been denied parole. So sure, when that's my husband, he went, yeah, he's been denied it. And I'm thinking, no, there's been a mistake here somewhere. I'm still kind of coming to terms with it because it's the very first time I've felt in 30 years that I've actually been listened to. All that I've said and done in the past, it's now come to light that what I have said was the truth. And I just wished, they listened to me back then and not wasted 30 years to listen to me now, because it's took me a long time to get over James's death anyway.
She says that it's taken her a long time to get over James's death. Could you imagine being her and then getting constantly brought up over and over again because one of the offenders who killed your child keeps getting into trouble on his release from prison? It's very, very sad. and it basically just keeps re-victimizing her over and over and over again. And then she has to go back to the parole board. She has to get interviewed by the media. She has to talk about her son, who's been dead for almost 30 years now. She has a strong accent. She does have a bit of a strong accent, but that's okay. I'll tell you what's going on. But it says here, child killer John Venables has lost a parole board bid to be freed from jail. The 41-year-old, this word and this word, the 2-year-old James Bulger in 1993. So it has just been over. It's the 30th anniversary would have been last year. 3 decades. The parole board said on Wednesday, after considering the circumstances of his offending, the progress made while in custody and on license, and the evidence presented in the dossier, the panel was not satisfied that the release at this point would be safe for the protection of the public. It noted the risks as set out above, doubted Mr. Venables' ability to be open and honest with professionals, and concluded that there remained a need for him to address outstanding levels of risk and to develop his relationship with his probation officer. The decision came after a series of delays and following a hearing held behind closed doors in mid-November. Venables was jailed alongside Robert Thompson when they were both aged 10 years old. After snatching James from a shopping center in, hopefully I'm going to butcher this. Hopefully I'm not going to butcher it, is it Boodle? And in Merseyside in February 1993, Venables was released on license in July 2001 and recalled to prison in February 2010 after indecent images of children were found on his computer. He was then released again in 2013 and then called back in November 2017 for the same offense, with parole judges last considering his case in September 2022. So he's been back in jail since 2017, and they just keep saying he's too high of a risk. He's lived in the public a couple of times, and he's just not making any progress. They said here, according to the summary of the parole board's latest decision, Venables had accepted that he had a long-term sexual interest in children / indecent images of children, despite taking part in a considerable amount of work in prison to address this area of risk. He had a history of taking drugs and secretly trying to use the internet in breach of his license conditions. The panel was concerned by continuing issues of sexual preoccupation in this particular case, warning there were future risks of him viewing more CSAM and of him progressing to offenses where he might have contact with children. So I don't think he's ever going to be okay to be released into the general public. I think if I had to guess, I would say that John Venables was the driving force that day. And while Robert Thompson didn't go straight to police, he didn't help himself, he was 10. And I know that doesn't exclude him from his culpability and what happened that day, but you look at this and you wonder, who's the one who has a preoccupation with little kids? Who's the one who can't stay out of trouble? Who's the one in the interview that tried to push the blame? And it was John. So I would not be surprised if he was the one who did most of the stuff that day, but yeah. A rock spider? He is a bit of a rock spider, yeah. I need text on screen, do you? Yeah, I'll stop playing. If you want to listen to his mum speak, you can find it with subtitles. But she's a lovely lady, and I can't believe she still does media interviews 3 decades later. I'm pretty sure she's had a couple of other children as well. I saw a photo of her. She's really got a different life. Hey Casper, how's it going? Nope, PEDs can never be changed. No, I don't think so. I think it's something that they will always have. I don't think it's curable. I think it's something that people will always be with. Tudor No More says that I hear Scott Peterson cannot have another chance at a new trial. Wonder if I was hearing things. Yeah, no, I don't know about that. I know that the Innocent Project were trying to help him and they asked for a raft of DNA testing on a bunch of different items, but the judge only gave them access to one item, which was duct tape found on her body, and that's it. That's all they got out of like 50 items that they wanted. So that's the only one that they're allowed to re-examine. Moonlight View says if you call her out, she magically appears sometimes. Shivers girl, are you in the bushes on the grassy knoll? She might be. Angela says he proved himself as one when he was 10 years old and just kept showing us who he is. I agree. I think he is definitely I think he's the one who did majority of the stuff to James. I don't think that makes Robert Thompson not liable for what he did. I'm sure he did things to James too, and I think that was shown at trial. But I think the real nasty stuff was John. But hey, it takes two to tango, and if you both contribute to the death of a child, then yeah, you get what you get. And but the other guy's been released. I don't think he's ever been heard of since. Am I wrong in that, Gila? I don't think Robert Thompson's ever surfaced since he got released and given a new identity. I think he's taken it pretty seriously that yeah, the child killer was released from a young offenders institution under a license and new identity in 2001 and has not reoffended since then and hasn't really been heard from either. They say, who is Robert Thompson and where is he now? Yeah, he was born 1982. That's so concerning because I was born very similar year and I did not kill a child when I was 10. But it says here, yeah, there's that screen grab from it looks better like that. There's them leading James away from the shopping center back all those years ago. Such a spooky image. So from what I understand, the kids were playing. Am I right in this that they were playing hooky that day? They were supposed to be at school, and they didn't go to school. But either way, I don't think their parents had much. You know, they used to just go out and play on the streets, that type of thing. Angela said he's never been heard from. Yeah, he's gone off. He's lived his life. I think he learned his lesson, and I think he found himself in a really bad situation that day. But again, it doesn't exclude him from what he did do that day. But I think you just get the feeling that John was the one who did the majority of it and was the mastermind of the offending. All right, let's go here. Let's go to wishtv.com. 73-year-old former police chaplain arrested for this word of an 8-year-old. And then we're going to talk about
emergency responders used a thermal imaging drone to locate a missing 10-year-old girl after she sleptwalked into dense woods in Louisiana.
Yeah, thanks for playing a random video that I didn't ask you to play.
We're following breaking news. A former civilian employee of IMPD is due in court in the next hour on accusations and allegations of molesting a child. Online records from the Marion County Jail show that 73-year-old Sylvester Driscoll was arrested this week after an investigation that started in August. Records indicate that he's also known as Leroy Driscoll. IMPD confirms that he was a civilian employee from 1996 until 2019. Also, a Facebook post from Southport Police in 2021 shows Driscoll retiring as the department's chaplain. Right now, Driscoll is facing 2 preliminary criminal counts of child molestation and is being held in the Marion County Jail without bond. Court records show that his initial hearing is scheduled for 8:30 this morning. We'll have more on this developing story throughout the day here on Wish TV and on
There you go. A 73-year-old Sylvester Leroy Driscoll, accused of the child crime. He was an IMPD civilian employee for a long time, 1996 to 2019, and a former Southport police chaplain. And he was in court. So I'm going to grab that. Leroy. Okay. So it says here, the former IMPD civilian employee who performed at local churches as the singing policeman of Indianapolis is accused of child, that M word that we can't say. Online jail records show that the 73-year-old was arrested Wednesday after an investigation that began in late August. The Indianapolis Metro Police Department confirmed that Driscoll was a civilian employee from 1996 until 2019 and has not been associated with the IMPD since. A Facebook post from Southport Police Department in 2021 shows Driscoll retiring as the department's chaplain. Videos posted online by an Indiana church show Driscoll introduced as the singing policeman of Indianapolis. He faces 2 preliminary charges of felony child, this highlighted word, and is being held in the Marion County Jail without bond. Court records show he was supposed to be scheduled to appear on Friday morning, but it must have got moved due to mental health because I don't see an update for him. Yeah, let me check. Past 24? 2 hours ago. Oh, yeah, I don't. 4 hours ago. Okay, here we go. Yeah. So, according to the probable cause affidavit, it has the girl's name blacked out because she's a minor or was a minor at the time. The girl told police that the essay, including R word, happened more than 100 times over the last 1 to 2 years. Over 100 times. That's insane. The girl, hold on. Police on Wednesday arrested him. Beyond the former work with Southport Police, he'd also worked with the IMPD as a civilian employee for more than 20 years before leaving in 2019. He doesn't have a criminal history, but is being held in the Marion County Jail without a bond. A court hearing is now set for Monday. So yes, they did move his court hearing. That often happens. The child described the abuse to police as gross. She said she was forced to watch Korn when she was 5 years old. According to the court documents, the adult who reported the abuse to the Indiana Department of Child Services said she noticed the child exhibiting SA behavior, including soiling herself, walking bow-legged, and complaining of stomach pain. How terrible. The girl said threats were made to throw away her toys if she told anyone, and that there may have been a second girl involved as well. One of Driscoll's neighbors tells News 8 that she didn't know Driscoll personally, but was disturbed by the arrest. I have 7 great-grandchildren, and they come here and play all the time. I'm sorry, but that's very shocking that my babies could have been riding bicycles and something happened. And her name is Patricia Allen. Allen says the neighborhood is filled with children, and the school bus drops them off along her street. She says the babies, I just can't see someone abusing babies. I'm sorry. I believe in God, and whatever punishment should be in its fullest form for him. I agree with her. She sounds like a very smart woman. That is shocking allegations, really. 100 times in 1 to 2 years, and the poor little girl, she's only 5. So over the last 1 to 2 years, so she's 8 now, but she started when she was 5. So she's not even 10 years old right now. That poor little girl. And they're saying that there might be a second girl involved as well. So who is she, and why does Sylvester Leroy Driscoll have so much unfettered access to her? Is it a grandchild? I hope not, because that is so freaking disturbing. I hope it's not a grandchild. It says here just that an adult reported the abuse to the Indiana Department of Children's Services. Yeah, and you see some of these very classic symptoms of SA, especially in children. Wow, what a horrible story. He deserves every moment of suffering in jail. What what a horrible person to spend that much time in a civilian department that it tries to do some good in the world of being protectors of our society, to then retire and then decide, you know what? I was on the good side for like my entire life. Let me go now be a criminal and do the worst crime on earth, which is hurting little kids. What an absolute horrible, horrible person. Casper said websites are coded obnoxiously. In 2024, videos play automatically, and some videos follow you down all over the page after. You know, the ones I hate is where you want to watch the video at the top, and we do this a lot, and the one on the page down starts playing, and I can't find it. I'm like, who's playing a video where? And the other one is those stupid banners that pop when you scroll down. They follow you down the page. Very annoying for streamers. Hey, Catatonic, how are you, my sweet friend? Moonlight View. Sean says, sorry, but you cannot be a man of God and a monster. You can hide behind a crucifix, but it won't protect you. Ain't no one going to be protecting him in prison. He's not a cop as such. Well, yeah, he's a cop. He's an ex-cop, and now he's a rock spider. So they are going to hammer him in jail. He is going to get the worst of everything. They don't like cops, and they do not like rock spiders. Rock spiders are very hated in prison. Hey, STL Cards, how are you? JDR says, my essay started at 5. I am so sorry that you went through that. That is not something anyone should go through in our society. And we should have stricter laws about, you know, a little bit of chitty chitty bang bang for the people who do that. Let's see. Yeah, that's horrible. Thank you for sharing, though. I appreciate it. Appreciate your insight. Yeah, everyone's like, oh my God. I'm sorry. I should have put a trigger warning for that story. But I was a little bit shocked too. I hope he gets everything he gets coming to him. If someone gets him in jail, well, so be it. You want to hurt children, you get what's coming to you. All right. I'm going to get away from that story because that story almost made me feel sick. But hey, we don't report it, they win. We don't report on it and show people, their crimes go under the radar and no one knows about it. But now you all know that Sylvester Driscoll is a monster. That's the point of doing those stories. Not for like any sort of, you know, grief vampiring or anything like that. Is to show you that these people come from anywhere. This guy was an ex-cop who is like a church singer called the Singing Policeman. Supposed to be like the person you can trust, right? Nope. 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 Over 100 times in a couple of years. Over 100. That is high level offending. High level. He'll be in the top 1% of all child offenders in the state of Indianapolis. 100%. One over 100 times in a couple of years. That's awful. That poor little girl. I hope she can't remember when she gets older and the memories fade. I hope so. Probably not. But I hope she just gets a lot of help. Cheating No More says, I've never heard the term rock spider. Rock spider means PDF file. It's jail slang in Australia. Well, they said that there might be another little girl who was involved. They're probably trying to figure it out, see if they can get more charges. Hey, Yuda, how are you? All right, let's move on from this because that story was sickening, literally sickening. All right, hold on. Unfortunately, I don't think the story I've got next is all that much better. It's not as severe as that, but it's not great. We talk true crime. They're all bad. All right. 2 accused of trafficking girls missing from foster home in Palm Beach County. They're saying 2 girls went missing from a Palm Beach County foster home earlier this month, were the victims of a human trafficking operation in the area. You know, we hear so many of these type of cases where people go missing, and the first thing everyone always brings up is, "Oh my god, it's human trafficking." And most of the time they're wrong. It's really scary that this particular time it was literally the case that they were trafficked. It says here, Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office deputies rescued the girls Wednesday after a law enforcement officer reported seeing one of them walking out of a home with a suspected human trafficker. 2 people, Faith Slayton and Michael Steinmetz, have been arrested in connection with the alleged trafficking. Both face multiple human trafficking of a minor allegations, and Steinmetz is accused of battery of a minor, while Slayton was booked on 2 counts of interfering with the custody of a minor. During their first appearance on Thursday morning, the Palm Beach County judge described the case as one of the worst he had seen. Then he denied them both bond. I'm going to play this little video here for you, and then I'll give you the rest of it.
Missing foster girls from Palm Beach County have been pulled from the grip of a human trafficking ring. Matthew Steinmetz and Faith Slayton are now behind bars, allegedly tied to a case that the judge is calling one of the most horrifying he's ever seen. But advocates say the incident is just a glimpse into a much bigger problem. CBS 12's Katie Benty joins us live from outside the courthouse in downtown West Palm Beach with all the details. Katie.
Well, Liz, the 2 were denied bond earlier this morning, but this case is far from unique. Advocates say that foster care children are prime targets for trafficking, lured in by promises of money, drugs, and false hope. But this is a dangerous game, and it's one that these vulnerable children are paying the price for.
Matthew Steinmetz and Faith Slayton each stood before a Palm Beach County judge Thursday, accused of trafficking children in foster care. The judge didn't hold back, calling it one of the worst cases he's ever seen.
Stop talking. You have no right to speak to them. This is not a dialogue. Fight, as they told Steinmetz, was a disgusting scandal without language.
The 2 foster girls, just 15 and 16, were found weeks after they reportedly went missing. Deputies made the rescue after one of the girls was seen leaving a house with a suspected trafficker. Treasure Coast pastor, artist, and advocate Lynn Barletta says this is just one victory in a much larger fight.
There are wonderful foster care parents caring for children. And then you have the other segment of people who are taking in children, but they're using it as a paycheck. And so those children often fall through the cracks.
And those cracks are where traffickers thrive. According to the National Foster Youth Institute, roughly 60% of child sex trafficking victims are or have at some point been in foster care.
With just 1 girl or 2 girls, there could be hundreds of users involved because you can use a child 30 to 40 times a day. You can only use a drug once, and they use drugs to control them.
In this case, investigators say the girls were given drugs like Molly and a dangerous drug similar to bath salts, used as a tool of control and even as payment. Authorities say they were lured in through online prostitution ads.
Every child is at risk now because most of the recruitment is now online. When you've got a child that has access to social media, that means social media has access to them. It is the most horrifying thing that is going on in our world now.
Advocates say the key to prevention is education. They say that people need to start talking about it openly, sharing resources and information.
So here are those offenders. Here's Michael Steinmetz, and this is Faith Slayton. I'm guessing on the right here. She looks quite young. Yeah, Faith Slayton. I would not be surprised if she was abused at a younger age, because she looks real young for whatever age she's supposed to be compared to him. Almost looks like a child herself. Doesn't excuse her offending. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if she was one of his first victims. You always have to have one to show the example to the new ones, right? They have to have one who shows them the rules. And that's probably what her role was. Here, they say, according to an arrest affidavit, after a cash transaction, the girl got into a black BMW with another individual, and they were stopped near I-95 and 6th Avenue South interchange. A Department of Children and Family Services order allowed authorities to take the girl into custody, and they soon learned about the other victim, who was being hidden in a home. They're saying Treasure Coast pastor, artist, and advocate Linda Barletta, she was in the video just then, says this is just one victory in a much larger fight. I agree. People are preying on foster children because there's so many gaps in the system. Yes, you do. That's what I was wondering. She looks so young, right? Being drugged with the likes of bar salts is pure evil. Yes. Epstein-like. Very similar. Hey, Candy, for you. And God bless Madeline Soto. Her life mattered. She deserved better as well. I listened to the released interviews and I just can't. So I have those videos and I've been listening to them myself. And I've been trying to get a wrap on the entire thing. It's quite long. I've got it in front of me right now. How long is it? An hour and... Oh, wait, I can't tell. Something. It's like over an hour or a couple of hours. 2 hours and 47 minutes or something. It's quite long. And if you've ever watched the Gen 1, it's so frustrating to watch because you can see the cops. They get quite frustrated with it because I think they have trouble understanding her point of view. I think they have I think they think that she knows more than she's letting on, and they want to know what she knows, but then she just keeps saying she doesn't know, and that makes the cops really frustrated because, one, they want to find Madeline at the time, and two, they want to know everything they can about Stefan's offending, and they just get really, by about, what is it? They interview for about an hour and a half, and then in the last hour, they start getting really frustrated with her. And they start using different language too. They start using a lot of swear words and very harsh language. And even when describing Madeline, in the first, they're very gentle. They're very like, we showed you photos of a crime that happened against your daughter. And then near the end, they're all like, your daughter was copying a BJ from a grown man and blah, blah, blah. Like, they're really hammering on her. And she still doesn't give up whatever she knows. Yuda says, I haven't listened to them. I don't think I want to. Poor Madeline. I think they're interesting. I think Stefan's one is not interesting. It's so boring, and he is boring, and he is not... I don't think he's even worth your time. He is just a monster who preyed on a young girl, and I find his interview, which I have as well, no insight. There's no insight to his offending. There's no insight to his mindset. He's the dullest person I've ever seen in my life. He just sits there with his stupid, ugly beard going, yeah, so I did this. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I went down the road. Yeah. That's all he does for like 2 hours. And then they come in and strip him of his clothes. He is the most boring, vanilla person I've ever seen. He's terrible. But Jen's one is interesting to try and look at, or more insight into it. It's hard, but I like to listen to that one to see what can we glean from what was their home life like, what was Madeline going through. Even though she doesn't give up a ton, there are some little bits in there that are interesting, like Stefan asking for anal and stuff like that. Those are very interesting considering the offending that happened to Madeline. They make connections to certain things. But he's just the most boring person I've ever heard. STL card says Stearns crosses his arm in every interview. Yeah, it's closed off. It means closed off. When offenders cross their arms like that or keep them close to their body, it means that they're not open to any sort of talking or anything like that. It's just like emotionally closed off. Yuda says too upsetting. Yeah, it's hard to listen to. Yeah, he's just, I don't know. I don't find him interesting at all. Rachel says poor Maddie was just reconnecting with her bio dad as well. Yeah, it is very sad. I think she was crying out for a positive male role model in her life. And unfortunately, instead of getting one, she got Stefan. And he's not anything like a man. He's a man-child, but he is not a man. He is not anyone who could teach a daughter anything that she could use in her life. He is just a man baby. He's literally a child. He's a child with an ugly beard. That's what he is. Cheated No More says, SS makes my skin crawl. Indeed. Yeah, his parents are more interesting than he is. STL card says DP for him. Yes. Ping, do you think he will plead out? I don't know. I think the authorities really I think they really want to nail him. I think they want to get him for everything, and I don't know if they will offer him a plea. Someone else might get a plea, like if they ever charge Jen with anything, she might get a plea deal, but I don't know about him. But I think he's going to continue his defiance that he's somehow innocent, even though they have photographic evidence of him abusing Madeline, like full on photos of his offending with his pineapple. Angela says, in my opinion, his dad is a bit strange. Yeah, I think the parents maybe mollycoddled him, or whatever you call it. They very much babied him even into his 30s, even though on the exterior they put out this image of, we're very tough on Stefan. We knew he wasn't leaving the nest and growing up properly, so we were very stern. But on the other hand, they let him run home whenever he wanted and stay at home and hang out there, and his mum would deliver food to the room and stuff. Very, very odd. Yeah, they coddled him. Yeah. Molly coddled. Rachel says thousands of photos and videos. He is done. Yeah, he ain't never getting out. He ain't never getting out. But I think now the parents are realizing the weight of DP and sending him money. Yeah, didn't Grizzly get the money that was going in and out of his commission area or whatever? I think they said there was quite a bit of money. He was being a good boy, so I was looking for a job for him. But I'm not going to do a show on the interviews. I don't think there's a point. There's so many people that have already covered it, and I don't think my insight into it would bring anything new or interesting that you wouldn't already have heard before. But I can just tell you that I have watched them, and I think Stefan's an idiot, and I don't find him interesting, even in the little slightest. I watched his interview for like 2 minutes. I just turned it off. I was like, this is just boring. He doesn't provide any insight to his offending. He has no idea of anything. He acts like, what he did wasn't wrong. and he just acts like a robot. He just sits there like a robot. They're like, all right, Stefan, we're going to take your pants now and take photos of your wiener. And they're all like, he's all like, yes, sir. Robot, standing up, taking off shirt, showing the world my man boobs. But I am just a robot. Like, he's just robotic. Rachel says, I think just catching up on occasion is good. Yeah. Milk toast. No, I don't know milk toast. Oh, this is the girl. This was the last story we talked about before we somehow got onto Madeline Soto. This is the offender. Her name is Slayton, Faith Slayton, and this is Michael Steinmetz. These two were both involved in the trafficking of 2 fostered girls who went missing from Palm Beach County earlier this month. I'll take it away so it's no longer scary. Let's see. Do I have one more story for tonight? I think I was going to check up on that guy that was supposed to be in court Friday. Hold on. There was a guy who was due in court. There was like the missing little girl, and then it was his girlfriend's daughter. I can't remember his name. I'm trying to find it. It was in the last 24 hours. No. No. That's not it. Hold on. Sorry, I'm just trying to find out if he went to court today or not. Weird, I can't find it. Maybe he got moved again. I know he was waiting on mental health. Candy says, I would re-listen and watch if you wanted. Maybe we can do Jens at some point as a bonus show. Maybe. Let me just look up this case because I do want to find out if he went to court. He's the one where the little girl, he woke up from a nap and then called it in as a missing child and a dog. And then they magically found the child in the back of the home under mattresses and junk. So I'm just trying to find out if I can find out his name again. We read so many stories, names just disappear from my head all the time. And then I want to check out, before we go, the Kentucky judge who was killed. All right, actually, I'm going to do that. I'm going to put that on the thing. Sheriff Mickey Steins. All right. Not a lot of updates in the last 24 hours for that one, but we'll go to, let's see if I can get this one or not. All right, so it says retired Letcher County Sheriff's Deputy Eugene Sloan was heading out his door of his Eastern Kentucky home Thursday when his phone buzzed. He put the device to his ear. You won't believe what happened in Whitesburg, the caller blurted out. The county sheriff, Sean Mickey Steins, had allegedly shot District Judge Kevin Mullins to death in his chambers. Steins, 43, was arrested and charged with murder. And they say, when they told me what had happened, I thought it was a dream. I couldn't believe it was real. The killing shocked Whitesburg, a town of less than 1,800 people nestled among the Appalachian Mountains, and turned its halls of justice into a crime scene. As the courthouse remained closed Friday, investigators sought to determine what may have prompted one of the country's most prominent elected officials to kill another. The men had worked together for years. Steins once served as Mullins' bailiff and was responsible for the judge's safety in his current job. Both officials mentioned in an ongoing federal lawsuit that accused a former sheriff's deputy of coercing a woman into sex when she couldn't pay the fees related to her ankle monitor. In the 2022 suit filed in the Eastern District of Kentucky, the woman alleges Steins failed to adequately train and supervise the deputy, Ben Fields, and knew or should have known that he was sexually abusing the woman in his charge. That is disgusting. Fields allegedly used to take the woman into Mullins' chambers after hours to coerce her into sexual acts because he knew there was no cameras in the room. Attorneys for Fields did not immediately respond to a request for comment Friday. In court documents filed in the case, Fields denied some of the allegations and exercised his Fifth Amendment rights on others. Mullins is not named in the lawsuit and was not accused of wrongdoing. There's no indication Friday that his killing was connected to the case. You know, this one where that sheriff right here, Sean Mickey Steins, there was some very concerning allegations that were floating around yesterday, and I shouldn't have reported them without being able to verify them, but people in the chat were talking about it, and I thought at least I would tell you where they came from. Oh, they got a mugshot for him. Let's see if I can grab this for you. New mugshot of the sheriff. There you go. That's him in custody now. Let me grab this. I just want to see if those allegations have has anyone else corroborated them or not. I don't think so. I don't see anyone else mentioning those very serious allegations against the judge. There was only a couple people reporting it yesterday, and I don't see anyone else like replaying it today. No one else is talking about that. And it looks like those posts have now been removed. So that's why you got to be very careful in early investigations that you don't take everything for gospel, because it could be just rubbish. Oh, the young boy in Manitoba. DJ says, as far as I know, it is only a rumor. That's why if I ever tell you that something is not verified and to take it with a giant grain of salt, it means that I can't verify it and I'm not sure it's real. So just remember that. Young boy missing in Manitoba. Okay. All right, search continues for 6-year-old boy missing in Manitoba 2 hours ago. Okay, I can show you this from Shamatawa. Is that how you pronounce that? Shamatawa? Okay.
To northern Manitoba now, where an urgent search is underway for a 6-year-old boy in Shamattawa First Nation. It has been more than 48 hours since Johnson Redhead went missing. Today, more resources were sent to the northern community to help find him, and community leaders say they are still hopeful. CBC's Mike Arsenault has the latest.
Johnson Redhead was last seen Wednesday morning. Now, RCMP and dozens of volunteers are working around the clock to bring him home safe. MKO Grand Chief Garrison Settee says more help is on the way.
6 additional RCMP have been deployed, and also there's a drone operator, and also there's a canine unit there.
Redhead was last seen at his school's breakfast program around 9 a.m., but he never made it to class. Police and community members started searching that afternoon. On Thursday, more searchers arrived in the Flyen community. Settee would have liked to have seen the process move quicker.
time is always of the essence. Timing is very critical. And especially when it comes to a young child that has autism and is nonverbal, it makes it even more challenging.
Satie says terrain in Shamattawa makes a ground search even more difficult. RCMP Sergeant Paul Maneg says they've been searching wooded areas, trails, roads, and sheds. He says they're using GPS to keep track of their process.
Shows us on the map what we've covered.
Search the water. Find the water. I mean, every child that's gone missing in like the last 3 months over summer who has autism had been found near water. Like 95% of them. So if they have they want any clue to where he might be, if there's any waterways nearby that the kid would know about, check them.
Perhaps areas we've missed, and then you may return to some areas, or you widen that scope if you've had no success.
It's still unclear how Redhead went missing and what happened between the time he was last seen and when people realized he wasn't in school. Satie says he's not focused on that right now.
Yes, it's unfortunate, but I think the important thing right now is trying to find Johnson.
Members of the 4th Canadian Ranger Patrol Group and the Winnipeg Volunteer Search and Rescue are already in Shamattawa helping with the search. Satie says MKO is sending a crisis team to support community, and Pemachikamak Cree Nation is sending more searchers. Mike Arsenault, CBC News, Winnipeg.
I hope they find him soon. That news report only came out like a couple of hours ago. Yeah, last seen at the school at a breakfast program before start time. Very concerning. Kids don't normally go missing from school. Pretty weird. I'm just trying to have a look at something here. Someone said that Trisha, what'd she say? Trisha said he's a good guy. She spoke to someone. Oh, I know who she spoke to. It's all right. I know who she spoke to. I can't tell you who she spoke to, but I know who it is. Yeah. If they said they're a good guy, I mean, I believe it. Whoever's putting these rumors out about him online needs to stop until it can get verified. If this is what it's over, then it'll come out in the media. Like the affidavit for his charges or whatever, whenever that eventually leaks out, it'll have a motive on there. And if that motive is that story that came out, it'll be on there. It'll be on there that he went there to confront him about X, Y, and Z. Yeah, see, there's more people repeating it here. I can see it up to about an hour ago. Someone says, talk about the sheriff and the juvenile, but that's the way I'm going to say it. There's no one here that can verify it for anyone. I can't see anyone here that has a standing within the community, like a news reporter, police, someone who would have the authority to speak on it. Yeah, the Courier Journal. Does this have the motive? Oh my God. So this article here, I'll show it to you. It says here, do you want to find out the motive for the shooting? And I'm like, yeah, I want to find out. And it says, why was Judge Kevin Mullins shot? And it says at this point, law enforcement officials have not released an official motive in the connection with the shooting of Mullins. Yeah, thanks for that. I hope you got your click for that. Congratulations. It says here, what investigators have found in the Letcher County shooting. Investigators have discovered the shooting occurred after an argument. Mind-blowing details here. Steins was taken into custody shortly after without incident. KSP is continuing to lead the investigation into the shooting. That is groundbreaking, brand new information. The Courier Journal. Well done. That is called journalistic integrity. You will win a Pulitzer Prize this year for sure. Gambler says it's Shamatawa is located on the banks of the Gods River, where the Echoing River joins. Okay. Is it like reservation type area? Ah, the pandas. Yeah, we'll show that at the end. Angela says, if there's no cameras, how did they see him looking at their phones? Then he shot him. I have no idea. Sean says thumbs down. Yes, retired RN. Do we just say each other's names now? Ah, it's a reserve. Okay. I would be checking the water. Yes. I don't know what she just says one word. What's up, retired RN? What do you want? All right, let me show you the. Kathy Lynch wants me to show you the pandas. All right, let me show you the pandas. My friend Kathy wants me to show it to you. Zoo admits that their pandas are painted dogs after a backlash from visitors. Yes, that does look like a dog who was painted to look like a panda. That is not a panda I've ever seen before. It looks like a Halloween dog, like someone dressed their dog up for Halloween. It says a Chinese zoo has admitted that the pandas in their exhibits were in fact painted dogs. Yep. According to the New York Post, visitors at the Shanwei Zoo realized they were being bamboozled when the so-called pandas began panting and barking. That always concerns me with my pandas. When my pandas start panting and barking, I'm like, I think that guy at the panda store ripped me off. They say pandas are native to China. Are painted dogs native to China? They say the pandas are native to China and an international symbol of the country. Okay. In one visitor's video, one of the pandas was visibly panting while resting on a rock in a fence, and another clip had a panda with a long tail strolling about. One viewer said, it's a pan dog. Yeah, it is a pan dog. And then someone said, that's the Temu version of a panda. That is true. That is exactly what it is. Here he is. It looks like a chow chow. Let's see if we can watch this here. Yeah.
Is that a panda or a dog? A Chinese zoo has sparked fury after it painted dogs black and white and presented them as pandas. Is that
There you go. You can see it on that page a bit better. It definitely looks like a chow chow. He is definitely panting. Yeah, it does look like a chow chow. Beautiful dogs from China. Hey, you put some respect on that name. They're not dogs, they're pandas. Yeah, I think they've been accused a few times. They're micro pandas. That's what they should be marketed as. Come to our zoo and meet our micro pandas. They're so small, you could put them in a family hatchback. Buy your micro panda today at micropanda.com.cn. They definitely don't look like, yeah, they are definitely a pan dog. I've never seen a panda that does that. What I feel sorry about though is it looks like they've docked their tails as well. Like when you look at this, some of these dogs don't have their tail. And it looks like they've done that to them to, yeah, see that dog's got a long tail. That ain't no panda. That is a dog. And the other one had no tail. It's very sad. And you'd hope, like, some of these paints that they use to paint dogs, some of them are actually very toxic to the animal. There are specialist ones that are made to, like paint dogs for Halloween and sporting events and things like that, but they're non-toxic. But some of these ones, this is China. Who knows what they're using? They could be using spray paint or acrylic paint. And it could be actually very, very dangerous for the dog, especially around their eyes. I'd be very worried about the health of these animals. Yeah, definitely no panda, micro panda. Yeah, it's a pan dog. Candy says, I'll never look at one the same way again. This is the best story. It is pretty funny. All right, let's see if there's any more. I'm sure another zoo did it at one point too. Yeah, this isn't the first time a Chinese zoo has misled visitors with claims of housing real pandas. In May, NBC News reported that the Taizhou or Taizhou Zoo in Jiangsu province had also painted chow chows. Poor chow chows. Zoo representatives initially claimed that the animals were a rare breed of panda dogs. Yep, like Pokemon, you get a 1% chance of getting a rare breed of panda dog, before admitting that such animals don't exist, just like Pokemon. At the time, zoo officials told Chinese state media that they had advertised them as panda dogs and did not intentionally mislead anyone. I'd like to see where you said that. When journalists asked them why they invented the idea of panda dogs to cover their tracks, a zoo representative explained, "There are no panda bears at the zoo, and we wanted to do this as a result. So instead of try get a panda, which are native to your country, therefore should be fairly easy to get one, you're just like, let's go down to the local dog store, buy a bunch of chow chows, and paint them. That seems way easier." At the time, state media and the general public criticized the zoo for also mistreating the dogs. They say it's not funny at all to dye chow chow dogs to attract tourists. No, it isn't. Someone on Weibo? That's like their Twitter. Their fragile skin and naturally thick coats make them susceptible to skin diseases. Yeah, so I'd be worried about the eyes and the skin. However, officials defended their choice to paint the dogs, noting they weren't harmed by the dye, and argued that if humans could do it, so could dogs. I often use that reasoning in life. I think to myself, man, if a dog can piss on a fire hydrant, why can't I? I think I should be allowed to too. We give too many rights to dogs. We give far too many rights to them. They're taking over our streets. I want to piss on a fire hydrant too. These laws and rules out there, they're very, they're very for the dogs. Yeah, Pokemon is not real. I'm sorry. Flying DJ says, double murderer Freddie Owens died by lethal injection Friday in South Carolina's first execution in 13 years. Is it really 13 years? I wonder why they just choose to do it after 13 years. They're like, well, crime's getting a little out of hand down here. We haven't killed anyone in a while. Maybe if we kill someone, the crime numbers will go down. People will get scared that we're actually going to do it to people again. We should probably kill someone. Who are we going to kill? I don't know. Just pick one. We got like 500 people on death row. Just pick whoever's next. All right, let me have a look.
Just into us in the last half hour, we are learning a South Carolina man now wants the U.S. Supreme Court to stop his execution in this 11th hour push for clemency and new questions about his innocence. This is Freddie Owens. He's in prison for the shooting death of Irene Graves during a robbery back in 1997. But in a sworn affidavit from his lawyers this week, a man who participated in that robbery with Owens and testified against him now says he lied and Owens never shot her. As of right now, the state Supreme Court is rejecting that claim. South Carolina's governor has not signaled whether he will grant clemency. He would be the first person put to death in South Carolina in more than a decade. NBC's Laura Jarrett joins me now. Laura, how did this case come to a last-minute push for clemency?
Well, Tom, this has really been a years-long process. And if nothing happens, within an hour, Freddie Owens will be put to death in the state of South Carolina. The first death penalty case in nearly 14 years, if it should go forward. Now, we expect to hear from the governor's office one way or another before that happens at 6 p.m. At the same time, as you mentioned at the top, Tom, he's also now filed a parallel motion with
Well, he obviously failed because he died, but I'm just showing this to you just to see that he did try to get a 11th hour stoppage, but apparently it did not work. They're saying here from CNN, South Carolina death row inmate dies by state's first lethal injection in 13 years. There's a photo of him. Freddie Owens. He was sentenced to death in 1999 for killing a convenience store clerk, Irene Graves, during a robbery in Greenville, South Carolina, when he was just 19 years old. Owens was pronounced dead at 6:55 p.m. Eastern Time. State officials said at a news conference Friday evening he had made no final statement. They said South Carolina Supreme Court declined on Thursday to halt his execution, and Governor Henry McMaster chose not to grant Owens the request for clemency. Yeah, well, hey, you kill an innocent person who was just trying to do their job and make some money for their family, and this is what you get. Play stupid games or win stupid prizes. I do not feel sorry for him at all. You know, you have to know that if you live in a place that has these type of punishments, you run the risk of doing this type of stuff, right? Like you run the risk of getting the DP. Not the good type that you find on Pornhub, the other one.
Hello. Is this on? Where's Kendrick? Is this the capital punishment?
She seemed very confused. She's like, hello, where's Kendrick? What, Kendrick Lamar? He's in Compton. Oh, a different Kendrick? Okay.
Sentence of Freddie Eugene Owens was carried out tonight pursuant to the order of the South Carolina Supreme Court and in accordance with state law. The execution began at 6:35 p.m. and inmate Owens was pronounced dead by a physician at 6:55 p.m. Mr. Owens was sentenced to death for the killing of 41-year-old Irene Graves on November 1st, 1997. She worked at a Greenville convenience store. At this time, I'll turn over the podium to three members of the news media who witnessed the execution. After all three speak, they will take questions from the podium. They will not be available for interviews after the news conference because they have to write their own stories. First, Jeffrey Collins.
Yes, my name is Jeffrey Collins. I'm a reporter with the Associated Press. That's JEFFREYCOLLINS. I just kind of walk y'all through a little timeline. The witnesses got into the room, the witness room, about 5:57. So as y'all know, there was a little delay. The Supreme Court apparently needed to make a ruling. The curtain opened at 6:35, and the execution started about a minute later. Owens made no final statement, and in South Carolina, the inmate doesn't make the final statement. Either his lawyer or a prison official reads it. The prison official said there would be no final statement. You could tell. Okay, thank you, Christy. So the execution was announced to be started about 6:36. When the curtain opened, Owens looked at his lawyer, who was sitting fairly close to him across, of course, the glass. And they exchanged like a little back and forth. You can't hear what somebody says, but you can mouth words back and forth. She smiled at him. He appeared to smile back at her. Once the execution was announced as starting, Owens was conscious for maybe a minute, maybe just a tad bit longer than that, where his eyes were open and he was still looking at his lawyer. There was still regular breathing. About a minute, minute and a half later, his eyes closed. There was about 4 or 5 minutes. Well, right after his eyes closed, there were some heavy breaths, looked like some very deep, almost snoring-like breaths. Then about 4 or 5 minutes after that, there was some like almost like facial twitches, like little tiny movements of the head, some very shallow breathing. And then it looks like I have down at, I believe, 6:42, that stopped. So there didn't appear to be any movement or motion. About 6:55 or 6:54, the doctor comes in, puts a finger up to check the pulse, puts a stethoscope on Owens's chest, and then she nods at the warden, who makes the declaration that the sentence has been carried out.
Good evening. My name is David Ferrara. I'm a reporter with the Post and Courier. That's David, D-A-V-I-D, F-E-R-R-A-R-A. Tonight, I was one of the 3 media witnesses here for the execution of Freddie Eugene Owens. We came in, like Jeffrey said, shortly before 6 o'clock. There was a delay. We were told that it was because the Supreme Court was reviewing the decision. At about 6:36, the curtain opened and the drug began flowing after permission was granted for the execution to begin from one of the executioners. There's 3 people in the room with Freddie Owens, in addition to the separate witness room in which there were 11 people, myself included. He made eye contact with his attorney for pretty much the entire time that he was conscious. He said some words to her that weren't exactly clear. His attorney had said something to him, asking if it was bad, and there wasn't a response that was recognizable. The drug stopped flowing roughly about 6:54, and about within the minute after that, the doctor walked in. It seemed like a doctor with a stethoscope around her neck, checked his pulse in his right arm, checked his neck for his pulse, and then put a stethoscope on his chest to make sure that there was no pulse. And about
This guy does look quite young, right? What a young man. Looks like fresh out of grad school. What a hell of a assignment to get posted to so early in your career. Well done. He speaks very clearly. He's done a great job describing it. And I'm going to try to look up this guy, see if he wants to come on and tell us about his night on his assignment. He's from the Courier, so I'll try and look him up. I'm sure you all would love if I could get him on here. And yeah, he looks like he just got out of university for journalism. What a interesting assignment for, you get a job, you're out of university, and they're like, I'm a journalist, and you go work at a small paper, because that's sort of how it works. You go to a little paper, and then you get a job at a bigger paper, and you build up your portfolio of stories. And they're like, all right, no one else wants to do this one. You're the new guy, so we're going to give you this story to go out to the penitentiary, and you're going to watch a death sentence be carried out. What a hell of a first story to cover. I mean, very interesting. Very interesting. I hope he was okay and ready for it. It must be a hard thing to watch. Not easy. Cheetah No More says, I do think it's hard on some people, of some of these people's lawyers who have known them in person for so long. I agree. Just because they committed a crime for a long time ago doesn't change the personal relationships they've made with other people since then. And that would be very difficult for those people, even though they understand the context surrounding their crime. It doesn't make it any easier. All right, let's listen to this young man.
about 6:55 p.m. is when he was declared dead.
Good evening. I'm Justin Doherty with Fox Carolina News in Greenville. Also one of the witnesses there inside the execution chamber today. To give you a perspective of what it looked like, there were 3 rows of chairs. We were in our own separate room as far as witnesses go. there was several panels of windows in front of us, and there was a dark curtain drawn for several minutes. We entered the chamber at 5:57, and the curtain opened at 6:35. So that entire time, the witnesses were sitting there looking at the curtain. Several horizontal bars were in front of us between the inmate and the glass. Curtains were drawn at 6:35. Freddie Owens was laying in front of us horizontally. And so we could see his head to our right, his feet to our left. He was in a green jumpsuit with a white sheet up to his chest.
Does it sound like to you that each of these reporters who were brought into as a witness, does it seem like to you that each one of them was like, okay, so like 3 of us are going to speak at this press conference afterwards. We can't all say the same thing. So let's use our thesaurus and let's try to come up with different words and different ways to explain exactly the same thing. I'm going to talk about how he was horizontal. I'm going to talk about how he talked to his lawyer. I'm going to say that it was vertical. You're going to say that they were across from each other. Like, that's almost what it seems like. They had a bit of a powwow beforehand.
And as soon as the curtain was drawn, he immediately turned his eyes to the witness room and looked around the witness room and pretty much made contact with each one of us, made eye contact with each one of us. And then his eyes drew back to his attorney and he gave her a big smile. He looked at his attorney, mouthed several words. At 6:36, that's when they were able to proceed with the execution. From 6:36 to 6:37, he maintained eye contact with his attorney, who is seated directly in front of him. And so she was able to see directly at him. She also maintained that eye contact with him. He was mouthing several words, but you could hear him say bye. You could clearly hear him say bye to his attorney. They were making eye contact. He said bye. She responded, said bye. Then at 6:38, that's when his eyes slowly closed and the heavy breathing and the shallow breathing began. It almost had that snoring sound. And his head.
What he's describing there, that is the death rattle. So, hey Trisha. Trisha says anesthetics for surgery may be risky but not unpleasant experience. Bring back the electrician's chair. Okay. Yeah, old Sparky. Yeah, I do too, and I do understand that those relationships, especially since like what was it, 19 in the 90s, they're some of their only contact between the outside world and prison, and they're some of the only people they can ever trust. And I do get that is a relationship that it would be very hard to witness that person dying right in front of you. So I do understand that, but at the same time, you do these crimes in a place that has these type of penalties. You can't be upset when you get sentenced to it. It's sort of like, the people who go to Malaysia or Indonesia and they bring drugs and they're like, oh my God, I had no idea I had 40 kilos of Coke in my backpack. Had no idea. Had no idea it was in my suitcase. And they're like, no, please don't put me in front of the firing squad. I didn't do it. You mess around with places that have really severe penalties and you take the risk. You might have got through, you might have been a millionaire. You did not get through, and now you're going to have to sump up to those consequences. What put this guy in prison? He killed a convenience store clerk in 1999. Here it is. Owens, 46, was sentenced to death in 1999 for killing a convenience store clerk, Irene Graves, during a robbery in Greenville, South Carolina, when he was just 19 years old. Owens was pronounced dead at 6:55 p.m. Eastern Time. State officials announced at that press conference that we just watched. So there you go. That happened tonight a few hours ago. And then his cellmate, yeah. But his original crime was the the other one. So Graves was a 41-year-old mother of 3 and was working an overnight shift at a store in Greenville on November 1, 1997, when she was shot and killed during a robbery. You know, look at that. She was trying to provide for her 3 kids by working an overnight shift while her children were sleeping. So probably she could be there in the morning to make them breakfast. And the fact that she never came home because of this person's selfish actions, you know, there's no reason to feel sorry for him today. They're saying here, on Thursday evening, for the second time this month, the South Carolina Supreme Court refused to halt his execution, despite a new affidavit signed Wednesday by his co-defendant, Stephen Golden, who now claims Owens was not present at the time of the robbery and killing. It's a very honorable thing to try and save him. Owens filed separate motions on August 30 and September 5th, asking the court to halt the Friday execution. The court said it denied both motions on September 12th and saw no reason on Thursday to reconsider their decision. Well, there you go. So he was actually scheduled to be executed in June 25th, 2021, but the process was halted that month after the state Supreme Court blocked the execution of Owens and another death row inmate, Brad Sigmund. The court order put a pause on their executions, while the procedures for the state's newest method of capital punishment at the time, death by firing squad, were finalized. A South Carolina law went into effect in May 2021, allowing inmates to choose between execution by the electric chair or by a firing squad if lethal injection drugs weren't available. There you go. So he could have, if there was no drugs available, he would have had to have had either firing squad or electric chair. I didn't even know they still had one. I thought they dismantled all of those years ago. Chidno Moore says, remember how Durante from the Philippines took care of business? I supported 3 children from the Philippines, so I paid attention to how it was run. Well, sorta. He actually had his own assassins running around killing drug dealers, like for real. He had people like that he paid to run around and shoot people who he believed were causing disease in society. Hey, love is a 4-letter word. How are you? Good to see you. 46 in chat and only 46 likes. Not too bad for a Friday night. Appreciate it. Hey, if you're out there and you would like to help Ping, we always try and get to that 100 number. We've never done it before. We've got to 70, 80 likes on the videos, 90 a couple of times, but we've never gone past that 100, I don't think. If you want to help do that, like the video. I'd really appreciate it. I don't often ask for people to like or really subscribe. I hope that people will do that on their own accord if they like the content. And we don't ask for donations throughout the show. Nothing like that. The only thing we have for that type of stuff is we have the Nightbot, and that's it. We don't nag people or anything like that. Chid No More says, yeah, he did. He had death squads. Much was wrong. I know. I agree. Angela says, so my daughter's year and my son's date of birth. Yes. Jojo, thank you, my friend. Good to see you, Jojo. I think that's just about it for the night, guys. We've been on for a couple of hours now. What time is it? Yeah, we've been on for just about 2 hours, or just shy of 2 hours. Yep. I think we're going to wrap up. It's about 4 o'clock local time down here. Hey, I love you all so much. I literally have the best viewers in the world, and I really couldn't ask for anything more from my viewing audience. They come here every night. They leave comments under the video. They chat in chat all night. That is very, very appreciative. Kathy Lynch says, did Mrs. Ping have a nice birthday? She did, and she had a nice dinner last night. Thank you for that, Kathy. She had a really nice dinner. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yes, good night, everyone. We'll be back tomorrow night for more true crime fun. Who knows what we'll find out tomorrow night. I'm going to do a bit more research. I'm going to put out a message to my friend who taught me about the insanity plea, and I'll see if she is willing to forgive me for not making the video sooner, and see if she's willing to help. She may not. She may be like, I tried to help that guy a year ago. I'm not going to help him now, but we'll see. I'll see if I can smooth that over. Hey, I love you all. Have a great Saturday wherever you are. If you're in the Southern Hemisphere and it's already Saturday, hope you have a great Saturday night and a Sunday morning. And I will see you tomorrow for Saturday night. Yeah, she is feeling better. She's just relaxing right now. Just relaxing. So, hey, I'll see you then, okay? Good night, everyone. See you later. Bye-bye.